Welcome back, y'all. Today we'll be getting into the machine learning models predictions for UFC Fight Night Abu Dhabi, Whitaker versus Day Ritter. Before we do that, let's first have a quick recap of last weekend's results and see exactly where the bankroll stands now. We started off the weekend with one Friday fights. We only had two wagers available to us on that card, but we won both of them and profited with a nearly 50% ROI at 2 units. Saturday, we got started early with PFL Africa. We got one correct and two incorrect on that card, but the real damage here was done in the main event. Johnny Eblen was winning until he wasn't. With 10 seconds left in a fight he was clearly winning, he got subbed, and it cost us a lot. By the end of that card, I found myself down just over 9 units. Not to worry though, I still held out plenty of hope. Most of my bets were left to come with UFC 318. By the time that card wrapped up, I had gone 10-4, and unfortunately, it happened again. Daniel Zellhuber lost to Michael Johnson, another massive favorite, and we were down bad. Fortunately, we were able to cash some pretty big underdogs on this card also, and ended with a profit of 2.26 units. Every week, our book gives us a small kickback bonus that seems to be based on how much we lose. Fortunately, last week we didn't do a whole lot of losing, so the bonus size was small, but I'll never scoff at a free 0.66 units. By the end of it all, the bankroll had dropped from 282 down to 270, but I'm still pushing on to 300, which will signify tripling the starting bankroll, and there's only one way to get there. So let's jump right into predictions for this week's fights. We'll be starting off the night in the heavyweight division with a bout between Martin Buday and Marcus Buchecha. There's a massive discrepancy in experience here, with Buday having nearly 3 times as many fights as Buchecha. Buchecha has finished all of his wins in the first round, 4 out of 5 of those being by submission, and I know how much the model loves submissions in the heavyweight division, but for some reason, it's just not on board with Marcus here. To be honest with you, minus 280 is a crazy number for a dude who lost a decision to Rugrug. In my mind, Boudet just needs to survive an early onslaught, and all three models think he can do it. At plus 240, I'll be taking Martin Boudet for 1.5 units. For the second fight on this card, we'll be dropping all the way down to featherweight, where Stephen Wynn will take on Muhammad Yahya. These two guys have yet to get a win in the UFC, with Wynn losing his debut last time out and Yahya currently being on a 2-fight skid in the promotion. This model finds most of its value in the fighters' records, and with Yahya having more fights, more KOs, and about the same number of submissions, I have to imagine that it's mostly leaning on win percentage, where Wynn has a massive advantage. Only 2 out of the 3 favor Win here, and even those two aren't highly convinced. They do agree though, so we'll be betting 3.2 units on Win to return 1 unit with a win. Going back up in weight, this time to 205, we'll see Ibo Aslan take on Billy Elikana. Both of these guys are quite tall and lengthy and still very young for the light heavyweight division. Ebo is significantly more experienced, though, pushing twice as many fights as Elikana. It looks like Ebo's weakness is quite clear, having lost 2 fights by submission, one of them being his last time out. Billy Elikana does have a sub on his record, but that came in his professional debut. Looking at what the models think is important, we see that results take up a large percentage of that. Ebo has 14 wins, all of them by knockout, most of them in the first round, but he has shown he still has power into the third. Regardless of what's really driving the decision, the models overwhelmingly favor Ebo Aslan in this fight, so I will be taking him as a minus 250 favorite for 3.75 units. There's only a single women's fight on this card, and it'll be a strawweight battle between Amanda Ribas and Tabitha Ricci. I just never know where Amanda Ribas is going to be fighting anymore. I thought she had moved permanently to flyweight, but she didn't look so great there. She moved back down to strawweight, but she's lost a fight here too. At least in this one, she'll have a small height advantage, but a pretty significant reach advantage to lean on. These models currently put a lot of stake into result and method, which to me means it's going to lead towards the person with the most decision wins. It makes sense for this division. I don't know if it's true, but it's what makes sense to me. It thinks that Tabitha Ricci has a small edge here as a plus 140 underdog. None of the models are super convinced. The two that are the most convinced, like Ricci here, we're putting 1 unit on her. Next up in the men's bantamweight division, we'll have Davy Grant taking on Damon Blackshear. Davy Grant's getting old, man, but like Michael Johnson just showed us, these old men can still bang sometimes. Sometimes they just still got it, man. This is a bit of a different situation, though. Blackshear is no young up and comer. This dude is more experienced than Davy Grant and will be making his 10th walk to the octagon on Saturday night. I'm really looking forward to this one. Davy Grant's always game for a fight. Since 2020, he's had 5 performance bonuses. He's finished 4 of his 5 opponents, lost 3 decisions, 2 of them split. The models overwhelmingly have me betting Blackshear here. He's a minus 310 favorite, and I'll be putting 4.64 units on it. But in all reality, I'm just excited to watch this fight. We've only got a single welterweight bout on this entire card, and it'll be Muslim Salikov versus Carlos Leal. I've wondered this before and I still don't know. When do you start getting too old for welterweight? Muslim Salikov is 41 and he's still insanely dangerous. He still throws the craziest spinning shit I've ever seen. Carlos Leal is 10 years younger, but this dude also has insane power with a ton of first round finishes. These two have incredibly similar records, with the only major difference we see is Salikov having KO TKO losses and Leal having many more decision losses. At the books, Leal's a massive minus 500 favorite. The 3 models don't seem to be that heavy on him, but they still do lean his direction. So I'll be taking Leal in this fight for 7.49 units. We'll be closing out the prelims in the bantamweight division with a fight between Saeed Nurmagomedov and Bryce Mitchell. Last time Saeed fought, the models picked against him, and my take was, if you have to pick against the Nurmagomedov, this is the guy to pick against. The models were right, I was happy. Now we're here all over again, except for I'm even less confident. This time the models are predicting Bryce Mitchell to win, and I don't even get underdog money on him. These days, my biggest concern with Bryce is that his head isn't in the fight game anymore, so none of these features really matter. He is a minus 115 at the books. All 3 models agree, so it will cost me 1.73 units to take Bryce moneyline in this fight. We'll be opening the main card with one of the most promising fights of the night, Bogdan Guskov versus Nikita Krylov. Man, I don't really want to jinx this fight, but luckily I don't believe that shit. This fight should be an absolute slobber knocker. I expect both of these guys to put in a lot of effort at taking the other guy's head off. Bogdan is very experienced with 20 professional fights, yet somehow Krylov has doubled that with an incredible 40 professional fights. It seems to be based mostly on Bogdan Guskov's better win rate and incredible number of knockouts. 2 of the 3 models are leaning his direction, and as a plus 165 underdog, I like his chances here. We'll be putting 1 unit on Guskov. Dropping down now for our only flyweight fight of the night, we'll see Asu Almabayev take on Jose Ochoa. In his last outing, Almabayev lost to Manel Cape, which snapped a 17-fight win streak. I don't know exactly how many. It was a lot to count, though. Ochoa's career doesn't look bad either. He's got a single loss on it that came in his UFC debut. That's the only fight he's ever been in that's gone to a decision. And since then, he came back and got a finish on Cody Durden to still never make it out of the second round in any of his wins. I think the books, the models, they're all wrong here. I think Almabayev and Rakhmonov and these other Kazakh fighters are set to do some real big things real soon. But despite that, all three models think that Ochoa wins this fight. He is a tiny, tiny minus 115 favorite at the books, so it's going to cost me 1.73 units on Ochoa. Moving on to the feature bout, which takes place at middleweight between Shera Magomedov and Marc-Andre Barriault. In this division, a 4-year age gap between 31 and 35 likely means nothing. Height and reach are practically identical, and this model couldn't care about it too much anyway. What we're really looking at here is fight results, and Magomedov has a significantly better record, a significantly higher finishing rate, and has never been finished himself. As an intangible, I think that Bullock comes back with absolute vengeance after that loss in his last fight. I don't think that breaks him. I think it builds him much stronger, and I think this minus 700 line reflects that. None of the models are minus 700 confident, but they do all still agree, so it's going to cost me 10.49 units. For some reason, our co-main event on this card is Marcus McGee versus Piotr Jan. Marcus McGee looks 60, but he's only 35, and the dude's still incredibly good somehow. He's on a 6-fight win streak. He's finished 5 of those. He's gone 3-0 in the UFC and just went to his first decision in his last fight. Jan has lost 3 out of his last 5 fights. He is on a 2-fight winning streak, though, and all 3 of his losses came to UFC champions. I don't really know what to think about this fight. I don't think Marcus McGee is a future UFC champion, but I also didn't think he was going to beat any of the guys that he has so far in the UFC. So who am I to say? He's a plus 285 underdog at the books, and 2 of the models just barely lean his direction. We will be taking Marcus McGee here for 1 unit. Closing out this card will be a middleweight matchup between Robert Whittaker and Rene De Ridder. Robert's at a weird place in his career right now. He's only losing to the very best, and it's kind of left him as a gatekeeper. We often see guys like Rene, who have come up in the UFC very quickly, lose to guys like Robert just because they aren't ready for the highest level, or a lot of times they just turn out to not be the highest level fighters as it is. At the books, Robert is a minus 145 favorite, and they think that he'll turn back another contender. Rene looks to prove him wrong as a plus 125 underdog, and all 3 models think that it is likely he gets it done on Saturday night. I've got 1.5 units on De Ridder to win this fight, and I think this will be an exciting matchup between 2 very unorthodox guys. That's all the fights on this card, so let's have a look at our totals. We've got 7 favorites that the models predict to win. 6 of them we've upscaled to 1.5 units. Our total risk is just over 33 units, and if we win all of the favorites, we can profit 10 units. The models also prefer 5 underdogs. Only 2 of those are confident predictions, and our risk is very low at only 6 units. But it will return 11.37 units of profit if we win all of them. Our total risk on this card is very low considering the number of fights. We've risked just over 39% of the bankroll, and our max return is 21.37 units. There is also an LFA card this weekend. I've got 4 or 5 possible picks on that card. I'm just waiting for the lines to drop. When they do, all of my predictions and wagers will be free on Patreon. So please click the link in the description